Hey everyone, what's up? Antonio Fletcher back with you once again. Dave S. recently did a video called How to Argue for Intelligent Design. Before I get into my response, I will point out that it is a must to watch Dave's original video before viewing this one to understand the context of my responses. Watch that video first if you haven't already, then get back to this one. I have his original video in the description. With that said, let's get into the video. I'll just get straight to the point. Dave really missed the mark. Now, in my response, I want to focus on two main things, as I think they are the most relevant. Number one, Dave's explanation of a useful abductive argument. And number two, his point about metaphysical cherry picking in regards to allegedly making an unsound inference to an intelligent agent based on our limited experience of humans building motors and turbines. He alluded to this at an earlier point in his video, the original video, which I will be addressing later on. For now, I'll just get into my first point, which is in relation to the part in his video about an abductive interpretation of true empiricism's argument. Seeing as intelligent design is not a deductive nor inductive argument, I didn't see the relevance in addressing Dave's deductive nor inductive interpretations, and this is why I'm only addressing the abductive interpretation. Let's hear what he has to say.
But most contemporary ID proponents don't claim this is an argument from analogy, but instead an abductive argument, which is something true empiricism has claimed in the past, which is what I think the argument was intended to be. So when the conclusion is that intelligent agents are more than likely the producers of those patterns we observe inside a cell, this can be viewed as an attempt to perform abductive reasoning. This is something that's often claimed by the ID proponent, so to help articulate an abductive argument that one could use, here's my formulation of such an argument.
I'm not sure why Dave thinks this is an argument which can be used. In its current form, it's perfectly fine as an abductive argument if one understands what abductive argumentation is, which is to observe the result of what we see and to figure out what is the best explanation for what we see. So, when we put together premises 1 and 2, we can clearly interpret them as an argument to posit what is the best explanation for what we see inside the cell. We know this by analyzing premise 2 from an abductive context perspective. When true empiricism was giving this explanation for the argument, it was being done in an informal discussion. This is crucial to note because it's one thing to give a formal type argument in a syllogistic form, but quite another to give an informal argument in a conversation in which context is relevant to take into account. So the argument as which is laid out is perfectly valid to use in an informal discussion where context in said discussion is at play, not necessarily an exact informal construction of an argument. Nonetheless, I will address what I think is a crucial issue in Dave's reformulated argument after we take a listen. That will lead into my second point.
Entity E either exhibits teleological properties or teleonomic properties. Intelligent design, as a hypothesis, maintains that entity E exhibits characteristics which are the product of deliberate intentional design by an intelligent agent, such that they exhibit R. The theory of evolution maintains that entity E exhibits characteristics which are the product of natural selection, such that they exhibit T. The hypothesis of intelligent design has inductive observational support. We do not have empirical support from evolutionary naturalism that entity E exhibits T. Therefore, we have a high prior probability for the hypothesis of intelligent design. The hypothesis of intelligent design can give a sufficient account of entity E. There is no sufficient account for entity E from evolutionary naturalism. Therefore, the intelligent design hypothesis has the greatest explanatory power. Therefore, E can be best explained by the intelligent design hypothesis. Therefore, the proposition that entity E exhibits teleological properties is the most reasonable hypothesis. In other words, what this argument is saying is that either something like the bacterial flagella is either intentionally designed by an intelligent designer or the result of evolution by means of natural selection. We have a prior probability and explanatory power of each explanation, and the one with the highest posterior probability is the best explanation. So the ID proponent would affirm that intelligent design has both the best inductive observational support and can give a sufficient account for something like the bacterial flagellum, which makes it the best explanation. However, I have a number of problems with this line of reasoning. The first and perhaps most devastating is that I don't accept that intelligent design has the best inductive observational support, or that intelligent design has a sufficient account for something like the bacterial flagella. In other words, I don't buy premise 4, 5, 6, or 7 of this argument. So as I mentioned earlier, the inductive argument in favour of intelligent design simply doesn't work, and so I would challenge the notion that we have inductive observational support for intelligent design.
As far as Dave's point about intelligent design not having sufficient support for the bacterial flagella, such evidence has indeed been brought forth by ID proponents. As far as his contention with it, he will have the burden of proof to explain his contention. Understanding that Dave wasn't attempting to give reasons for his contention in this video, conversely, there is no need to lay out reasons for it in this video, as the issue is to address why Dave has a problem with the argument for intelligent design. Now, as I said earlier, if you haven't watched Dave's original video, I have the link to it in the description, as it's required to understand the context of what I'm responding to. Earlier in Dave's original video, he alluded to a point about metaphysical cherry picking in regards to allegedly making an unsound inference to an intelligent agent based on our limited experience of humans building motors and turbines. So why do I find this point problematic? I'll illustrate why I find it problematic by asking a question. Should our limited human experience be a reason to question our intuition to see things which appear beyond human experience? What do I mean by this? You see, whether people admit it or not, we do often have an intuition to see things beyond our limited human experience. This in and of itself is actually not controversial. For example, NASA Administrator Charles Bolden said, "It's highly improbable in the limitless vastness of the universe that we humans stand alone. But the only experience we have of higher level sentient intelligence is the experience of our own humanity. Our experience of this sort of intelligence is limited to humans here on Earth. But why do we have this intuition to look for things which appear beyond our limited experience? What basis do we have to even conceive of any potential intelligent life beyond our own? Let's ask the question once again. Should our limited human experience be a reason to question our intuition to see things which appear beyond human experience? In the same way, should our limited human experience of seeing humans building motors and turbines be a reason to question our intuition to see a possibility that motors and turbines in the cell were the product of an intelligent agent or agents? They've reversed to this issue as metaphysical cherry picking to try to draw such an inference. But I see no reason to think it's cherry picking at all, but a legitimate appeal to our intuition in much the same way we seem to have an intuition of the possibility other intelligent life could exist beyond our own, despite our limited experience of human interaction. It seems to me that Dave is the one doing the cherry picking, as clearly his argumentation is predicated on assuming only methodological naturalism as the means in which we approach science in the debate between evolution and intelligent design. His cherry-picking bias is to methodological naturalism. Dave's approach is a serious detriment to science and serves to hold back potential progress.